Hello, hello, hello. So I'm so excited. I got Marla Renee, another Renee, and another Baldy. I don't know if you can see, we're sisters in the name Renee and the Bald. So I'm excited to have her on. You look amazing. You're beautiful. I love those lips.
Thank you. My purple lipstick.
Oh, I should have put on my purple. You know what? Let me tell you. Yesterday, I had on purple lips. And then today, honestly, I have on the same outfit as yesterday. I'm not even gonna lie. And
The
so
quarantine
the quarantine life, quarantine life.
does.
So while we're still waiting for people to come on, I'll just be talking. So yesterday I wore the purple lipstick, and I love purple lipstick. And then today I was like, let me change my earrings and the lipstick so it doesn't look like it's the same exact uh, outfit
I
as
know, right?
yesterday.
Hmm.
So, so I see people coming on. Welcome, welcome. If you could just say hello, say hi, give us a shout out so I can know you're here, who's on. And I'm excited to have Marla Renee on. And we're going to be talking about how to honor love, relationships, different types of relationships, different types of love. Because, we keep normally hearing the traditional type of relationship with the man and the wife and the fairy tale. And I don't know if that's truly reality for everyone. So I wanted to be able to have that open and honest conversation, especially for the month of Pride, so that this conversation could continue going even after Pride. Hello, Alex. Thank you for coming on. Hey, hey. And so, Marla, what is that big old sign behind you that says velvet lips? Anything that's like velvet
Yes.
and lips, I'm just like, ooh. So tell us about that.
Yes, Velvet Lips is my sexuality education company. It is where I teach workshops, give individual coaching, and just help people explore and empower their sexuality through helping them to build their sexual confidence, helping them with their communication, as well as helping them with their sex skills.
Right. Awesome. So how did you get into this? Like, how did you start working with sexuality?
Oh gosh, that started. I started studying human sexuality when I was in college, and
Mm,
so I've been studying human sexuality for 20 years now.
wow.
So it is a long time, and yeah, I had lots of really great classes and professors at San Francisco State, and my friends were having sex but not having orgasms, and I thought that was a
Right.
problem. So I really wanted to make sure that I was in the business of helping women to have orgasms in particular.
I love that. I love that.
By the way, and by way are all the other things.
Right. And I have to say, like, so I just had this retreat this weekend, Sacred Kink Retreat. Oh my God, I had so much fun.
Ooh, that sounds
So much fun.
fun.
It was so much fun. It was great. And I was just like, I love
Was it in
my
person?
work. No, it was virtual. It was
Oh, okay. I
virtual.
was like,
We were
really? People are doing that? No.
I wish. I wish. I can't wait till we can actually be able to have a virtual sacred kink retreat. But it was virtual and it was actually quite nice. We did a lot of the role plays and talked about the different types of kink. So it's just and BDSM. It was amazing. Um, but yeah, like so my background is as a psychotherapist. But once I started working with tantra and sexuality, I was like, I love my work and I love being able to help women have orgasms because there's high numbers of women who don't have orgasms,
Oh, yeah.
and so it's so important for us to like really have these conversations about sexuality, and let people know that it's okay, it's not taboo. So, and I like one of the things that you do that's been different in my work, and I have to admit that I have to step up in this realm, and I'm trying to step up now for Pride Month, is really look at the different types of relationships. Now, I have had a couple people come on and talk about polyamorous, polygamy, different women who might have different partners, men who have different partners, whether it's the same sex, opposite sex. And I think that you really do well in that area, and that's one of the areas that I really lack in. And I've seen like some of your work from Facebook, and you have the Sex Down South conferences, and I always see that it's very friendly to the LGBTQ community. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how did you start working with the LGBT community, and what is that like? Yeah, let's start with that.
Yeah, I mean, well, being queer myself, I came out at 16, so it was very much, I only came out to my parents and maybe a few friends, and I didn't really come out to everybody, I think, until college. And so for me, it's a part of me, right? It's a part of my personality. It's a characteristic. It's a part of who I am as a person. So because of that, it's very, very important to me to make sure that I include my people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're a Black person, you always want to make sure you include your people. And
Right.
so with the conference that I co-founded with Tia, we really wanted to make sure that, hey, we want to uplift the voices of folks of color, of queer and trans folks, of folks with disabilities, disabled folks, sex workers. We really wanted to be able to uplift those voices of the folks who are normally in the margins, or who are not centered, or who are not, who you see regularly at sex conferences, right?
Right.
And so it was just really, really important to know that, we are here, we are doing this work, and, so it's a part of me. So naturally, I'm going to go with what fits. And,
Mm-hmm.
we all need to experience pleasure no matter what our identity is. And I think it's just very important for people to be more inclusive, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, thinking about when you were talking, and I could tell you're like, you probably don't work with the queer community very much.
Right.
And so you said same sex and opposite sex. And I think that's great, but also to acknowledge that it could be a different sex, right? So maybe
Yes.
same sex or different sex, or right, that there's not necessarily an opposite, because there's such a
Mm-hmm.
variety of gender identities and sexes. And, I think it's just really important to understand energy. So even thinking
Mm-hmm.
about like tantric work and the work that you do, thinking about how we understand energy, we understand energy as masculine and feminine, right? We
Mm-hmm.
understand what the masculine and feminine energy is inside of us, and we partner with those folks who are complementary in their masculine and feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely, like, when you're thinking about how to include people or how to get more people on your bandwagon, it's easier to say, like, hey, if you have this type of energy, or if you have this type of
Mm-hmm.
body, right? If you have a vulva and the person you're with also has a vulva, or if you have a penis and the person you're with has a vulva, then these are the things that you can do, right? And I think it's like being able to change your language and use your language in a way that becomes inclusive, and for folks who can really understand, oh, hey, I have this body part, I can do this with this body part.
Right, right. And that's so important. And thank you for that. And so it's like having to be conscious of the way that you speak and thinking, because I think because I'm so used to just thinking male, female, but yes, it's not inclusive of of everyone. And I know one thing I do talk about, because of my experience, like I have a lot of masculine energy, and most of the guys that I date tend to have feminine energy,
Mm-hmm.
And so but like even earlier this year, I met a guy. So I met someone with a penis. And I'm trying. And
It
it was
only
interesting.
pertains to body parts,
Right,
okay.
right, no, I know. So, but I say that to say, because when I met him, he actually said that he's gender fluid, and
Mm.
so And honestly, I hadn't really, I think he's the first person that I've ever met that has actually said that to me, that they were gender fluid. So, but I didn't want to be like, well, what does that mean? And so, do you feel like a woman? Do you feel like a male? Like, because I didn't want to be offensive. So I didn't ask him anything, you know?
Google
Because you
it?
just, huh?
Did you Google it?
Oh, no, I did. I did. I
Okay.
Googled
I mean,
it
because
after.
sometimes, when you are in a marginalized identity, it's emotional labor, right? And although we love to, I think anybody loves when people ask about them and themselves. Of course, they want to talk about themselves. But I think it's just really like important to go ahead and also do the work, right? So when he said, "Oh, I'm gender fluid," I'd have been like,
Right.
Google gender
Yeah.
fluid." Okay, got it,
Right.
downloaded. I'm ready, right?
Yeah. And that's what I
Mhm.
did because because the thing is, how do you know if it's okay to ask? Because there are some people who are just tired of people asking. There's some people who just want you to do the research and figure it out, find out for yourself, you know. And then there's some people who are fine with you asking and they love to share. So it's a fine line, I think. But how do you kind of know when it's okay? Like, is there, I don't know, like, is there body language clues when the person is talking? I don't know. Like, and I don't know if this is a crazy question. Well, I did learn there's no
No,
such
I
thing as a
mean,
crazy
you
question.
don't know, and I
Yeah.
think that is the human nature of things. You don't know, but I think there is a way to approach, right, and be
Mhm.
gentle.
Oh, that's
I
good.
think there's a way just to say like, hey, I'm not really familiar with that term. Like, should I Google it, or would you mind telling me about it? And I think giving that option or that choice to be like, hey, can I engage with emotional labor with you, or can I not, leaves that
Hmm.
person the opportunity to be like, I have a choice. I can either say, go and Google it, or I can say, hey, yeah, I can tell you more about it. I want to tell you more about me and who I am. So
Right.
either way is fine. I just giving that option is a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's really good to know because I think even like with this whole thing with the Black Lives Matter, I think there's a lot of people who are non-black or non-people of color who are like, do I ask? Do I like And there's all this sensitivity, and then so with everything, I think now everybody's really more cautious as to how to approach things, how to talk, how to you know, ask questions. So I'm really glad that you said that. I think that's good for people to be aware of. So
Yeah, I
people
think,
who come in,
sometimes people tend to get timid,
mhm,
and like you said, we're highly sensitive right now, highly,
yeah,
highly sensitive. And so I encourage people to push themselves a little bit, get a little uncomfortable. That's the only
mhm,
way we evolve, we grow, is if it is not, um, if it's something out of our comfort zone. And
right.
that's the only way we learn.
Right. So, hello to those who are coming on. Hello, Mez. If you have questions about this, like, I want to know for those who are watching, who's coming on, have you ever been in a situation similar to what I just said, where you met someone and you're talking to someone and they said that they were queer or non-gender conforming or gender fluid, and you didn't know what that was about, or you didn't know how to approach it or how to, ask? Like, what did you do in that situation? What would you have liked to know? That's a lot of questions in one. But see, this is what happens when I'm excited. When I get excited about something, I'm like, no, 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 no. Just
So
talking a
what
lot.
happened? Are you still dating? I mean, I want to know the answer.
Hello, Jean Luckner. Thank you for coming on. Let us know if you have any questions. No, it was just a friend, and yeah. So we were never in a dating. Although I would have loved to date him. Like, he was gorgeous. He was so gorgeous. Um, and so he happened to be going through a period where he was feeling very asexual, and just a lot of just like confusion about what was going on with him. And I ended up doing we ended up doing an exchange because he does Ayurvedic massage and I do tantric massage. So I was like, oh, let me, I'll give you a tantric massage, let's explore and see what it's like. So I gave him a tantric massage, a couple of tantric massages, and it was really great. Um, because he had been feeling very asexual, not getting aroused by any sex, any gender or anything. And so we did some exploration with that, and that was really good. It was really, really good work.
Nice.
And I saw how that was very healing, because I saw how it helped him to connect to his body, become
Mm.
more aware of his body, of his body and what he was feeling. So that was actually really beautiful for me. I think that, honestly, I think I probably got more from it than him, and he got a lot, but it was just a really great experience, So yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
someone says, Ichabod, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. Says, peace, my sisters. I'm curious to know, are any limits when you say honoring all types of love? What do you mean? Are there any limits? Yeah, are there any limits? Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what do you mean by limits? Limiting how? Like, I think that there's love. We're all love. Everything is love. And I think that we're here to learn how to love, how
That's
to be
right.
compassionate, how to connect with our heart chakra. So if you're truly loving, and I love this example, like a parent, you're not going to not love one child because they're different. And when you truly love, like when you love, like, because I guess there are parents out there, but like at the base of when you love and you're a parent, you're going to love all of your children. I think that that's what love is. When you love someone regardless of who they are or regardless of what they're doing, that unconditional, true love. And I think the thing is, sometimes people say we love someone, but it's not really love. It's not that you really love them. It's that you want to possess them, you want to control them, or you love an idea of what you think they should be. So when you're looking at true love, honoring all types of love, there should not be any limits of it. That's in my mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Agreed.
Hmm. Yeah. So, but thank you. That's a great question. Yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free. What else would you like to know about that? But yeah, so that's just in my mind. And so when we're thinking about relationships again, and that's one of the things that working with Tantra, like I had to do a lot of looking at myself, looking at my idea of relationships. And I do have to say, after the sacred kink, one of the things that my co-facilitator had mentioned, in the DSM-4, which is a psychiatric diagnosis book, therapy, um, homosexuality was at one point listed as a disease, right, as an illness, but it was also at one point listed under kink, that she was saying. So that was really interesting. But now homosexuality is no longer listed under kink. So it's interesting how she was talking about in terms of the kink world. And this is still fairly near for me. I had her doing that work on the kink. I did my stuff on Tantra, and I learned a lot. Like, a lot of the kink definitions changes based on what the society dictates, what the majority is now saying is kink. And so, but for me, it was real interesting to think that possibly being queer at one point was kink, and then now it's not. So I don't know. Can you talk about that? About the changes in these definitions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with everything. I mean, with Black folks, we were three-fifths human, right? So I
Mhm.
think as things change over time and people understand what things mean, or get a broader understanding what things mean, of course the definitions are going to change. And honestly, I don't think kink can ever be without queerness, right?
Right.
Queerness is a non-normative. It is what we stereotypically think of as non-normative. So um, and kink is born and bred out of the queer community. So I think it would be, I would definitely challenge that, to be like, hey, actually, it's not like it disappeared, right? It just
Okay.
became
Mhm.
more mainstream because of 50 Shades of Gray, right? And the
Right.
community. um, and who has access to it. So the people who now have access to this
Mhm.
thing, right, it's like, oh, there's a different world out there. There's something new I can engage in with my sexuality. And so I think it's just really important to think about um, why things shift and change because of culture, and who has the ability to say this is normal. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I think that's interesting in and of itself. So um,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Who knows what's
Awesome.
going to be normal in 5 years? Maybe polygamous marriages are going to be working on, in 5 years, because people are understanding polyamory and non-monogamy, and
Mhm.
understanding, like, hey, there's other organizations that are fighting for relationship equality. So what does that look like? And why should I have to go to jail for loving two people and wanting to
Exactly.
marry them both, right?
Mhm.
So uh, soon enough, when things like this start to get traction, we'll see the changes over
Right.
time of what is considered normal.
Yes. So it's so interesting, like when you say that, I've been in up until the last maybe like 5 years, I had been in traditional relationships,
Mhm.
but I've been in, I guess, two open relationships. Three open relationships. Yeah, I've been in like three open relationships.
You're like, maybe.
Right. That we were open and honest about, right?
Right.
And the last one was with the guy who was bisexual. And so I see how I'm evolving, because before I would have never been in an open relationship. And I would have never been with the guy who was bisexual, because I did have in my mind, there's just a lot of things that I feel like we need to evolve. And I think there's still a lot of people who are like, oh, have certain connotations or thoughts about gay people, gay men specifically. Everyone loves gay women. Like, it's okay. Like, more so than the men, I think. I don't know, right? But there's this open thing about, if you're a gay male, then, you know, that's horrible. And you think about, they talk a lot about gay AIDS and all of this stuff. And so I had all of that subconsciously. I don't think I was aware of that. And I would have never, you know, I would have never been okay with that. But I think after working with sexuality and just kind of learning about how things are, like, honestly, I think that God created us to be who we are. And it's not something that someone, I think in my mind, openly chooses to say, this is how I want to be. I think there are some cases of that, but I think it's more of an innate thing. So then there's nothing wrong with that, And so with me expanding, and one of the things, he and I were friends first, and I started to like him, and I think he started to like me too. And so when we kind of started going, he was like, well, look, I need to be honest with you. I don't do traditional relationships. I'm bi. It has to be an open. And I was like, I was really feeling him. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm open to trying this. And, there were times when he just needed to have that masculine energy. And so I was like, okay. And then there's other times he wanted that feminine energy. Um, even though I'm very much more masculine energy, and he was a lot of feminine energy, but so he had those different needs of those different times, and surprisingly, I was like quite okay with it, and I really grew a lot, and I learned a lot from that, and just being able to be open in that relationship. So I don't know if you have any advice or any tips for someone who might be kind of liking someone who who's not in the who has more of an alternative lifestyle, who might be wanting an open relationship, and the person is like, well, I don't know, because what will other people think? What would my family think? Because that was in my mind. Like, honestly,
Mm.
um, I did think about that a lot. I was like, what would my family think if they knew he was bi, or if they could tell based on his mannerisms? Um, so that is a struggle. Like, what advice would you give to someone who might be interested in someone or pursuing a different type of relationship? and they just don't know how, you know.
Yeah, a couple things. One is, do you want to live your life or do you want to live your family's life?
Mm,
That's the first
I
one.
love
Like,
that.
do you want to be stuck thinking that like all the time you have to think about what your family may or may not be okay with? I mean, do you want to live your life or do you want to live your family's life?
Hmm.
And the second thing is like try everything at least 3 times, you know? That's what I say, you know,
Right.
because we just don't know what might titillate us and what might we be drawn to. And we're drawn to certain people's energies. And
Hmm.
so sometimes what that takes form in, we don't necessarily know. And so I think
Hmm.
it's just really important just to keep trying things and figuring out like what you like, you know. So
Hmm.
if you're single, you know, try all the things, like date all the people, you know, and like figure out like, okay, I like this, or I like this, or I like that. And then when you figure out all of that of the things that you like, then you can hone in on like, okay, now I'm ready to, if you're ready to settle down or you're ready to make babies or you're ready to like, nest with a partner or partners, like then you focus on like, okay, this is the way that I want to go. These are the qualities that I want in my relationship or relationships. And then you can, move forward in that direction. But
Right.
yeah, you got to live for yourself.
Hmm.
People who live for their families end up being miserable. They end up
Yeah.
not living their own life, and they end up, the majority of their life, they end up, living for someone else, and then trying to do it all in their like, 60s and 70s. And by that time, all those things you did in like all those things you're now doing in your 60s and 70s, you could have been doing in your 20s and 30s and 40s and
Hmm.
50s, you know?
Right. So true. So true. That's a good point. And I like the way you phrase that. Do you want to live your life or do you want to live your family's life? And that's so important, you know? Yeah.
Mhm. And I
Yeah.
think that for a lot of times when it comes to the queer community, or queer communities, like there's, it's like, do you want like, a lot of like straight folks don't necessarily understand that concept of being like torn from your family or your family rejecting you. And I think because the queer community has we have support in each other, and our friends are family, and the rejection by our families is so normalized that I think it's huge, huge, huge that we that well, not we, but that straight folks understand that what could the consequences be. um,
Hmm.
and they could be far than you might want to go, but do you want to live your life, you know?
Right. Exactly. So we got two questions here by Akoben, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, or Akoben. I'm so sorry. I'm horrible with names. So, so how do we determine what is good and bad in terms of activity? There are many types of ideas out there. Let me go first.
Yeah, please.
um, okay, and I don't know what you mean by activity, but in general, one of the things with Tantra is we get out of that duality, good and bad. You know, things are just what it is. It is what it is. So who gives the name? Who says something is bad and something is good? You know, uh, we do that. So that's just that's my take on that. Hmm.
Yeah. So I kind of looked at the question after that. And so
Okay.
I think it's interesting what you said, what is good and what is bad. Well, if it causes harm to other people, then that's probably bad. Now, when we
Hmm.
think about in the terms of kink, we say, hey, you can hurt people. You hurt people, hey, that hurt, that pain is pleasure. But when you harm people, these are the scars that are ingrained, they are emotional, they are hard to heal. And so when we think about what is good versus what is bad, bad
Hmm.
is things that cause harm, which
Okay.
means, there's no consent. So things like NAMBLA, which is a North American Man Boy Love Association, that is an organization who says like, hey,
Mm.
us grown men are with young boys. That when we think about consent, we think about coercion as an older person to a younger person. That can be very, very harmful, and we know this from the research. We know this,
Mhm.
that it can take a real psychological toll on people. So if it's very harmful, that is what I would consider bad.
That is a great answer. Yeah, that went more in depth. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's yeah.
We need consent. We need no harm. We need, all the good things that, you know, that
Yeah,
let us have fulfilling and pleasurable lives without thinking about what the repercussions might be.
right. Yeah, yeah. So Tiffany, she asked if the two of us have met in flesh yet, and says, "I pray so." We have not. We have not. When is that going to happen? I don't know. I'm all the way out in Brazil. I've been to Atlanta a couple of times, but
Yeah, I'm in Florida now, so
are you in Florida now? What
yeah.
part of
Well, I
Florida?
go
Because I
back
get
and forth
Florida a
between
lot.
Atlanta and Florida, but yeah,
We're in Florida.
Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, Fort Lauderdale. Okay. So I always have layovers in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area because from Brazil we
Oh
the flight
yeah.
goes to and I'll usually because I have family in Florida, so I'll end up just like staying a night and doing a layover and taking the train into well I have family in West Palm Beach, so I take it from
Okay.
Miami to
Oh
West Palm
yeah.
Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll let you know next time.
Yeah. Come over.
We can meet
Say hi.
up.
Get a hug in.
So how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling it's interesting because I think, when we talk about like certain subjects and thinking about pleasure, and we're thinking about Black Lives Matter, and we're thinking about like all of these worldly things, COVID. The thing that is most pressing on my mind right now is pleasure. Pleasure
Mhm.
is the only thing, not the only thing, but one of the only things that we have control over, one of
Yes.
the things that we have agency over. And I think it's very important that we understand that we have the ability to care for our pleasure and to do the things that we need to do for our pleasure, because our bodies are ours, and we got to make them work. So, work with what we got.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it's hard. We can do what we can in the outside world, but if we don't have enough self fuel, then we can't fight the injustices that are out in the world. And I think that's very important and on the forefront of my mind right now.
That is so true. So, it's interesting because I had a friend, I've never met her, but I have a lady who was interested in joining the retreat, the Sacred Kink retreat. And she never joined. And I had sent her a message. I was like, "Are you joining? Because I know you were asking all these questions, you were interested." And she was like, "Well, honestly, with everything going on, I feel guilty to be able to, I feel guilty to be able to do something like that and focus on sex." And, you know, I was just like, how many people are not doing this work, or participating in courses or retreats or workshops because they're feeling guilty to focus on their pleasure? You
Yeah,
just made me
a
think
lot.
about that when you said that. So many, because I guess they're feeling like, no, I should be angry right now, and it won't feel good to feel happy and to experience joy and pleasure.
Well, I think it's super, super important to think about our pleasure, and particularly as it comes to the injustices of the world, um and um oh my gosh, I think I lost my thought. Oh, I think it's even more important because we need to think about our resilience. Black folks have been in this situation over and over and over again, right?
Mhm.
Like they have been killing Black men since the beginning of time,
Mhm.
and Black women too, right? Our bodies have been used in all sorts of ways. And so
Mhm.
I think
And
it,
Black trans, Tony
mhm.
McDade. And there were two trans women that just recently died. Dominique Frells or something like that. I can't Dominique something and Raya Martins, I believe is the name, just this last week. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, black bodies have been it feels like systematically, targeted. And for us to keep going out and to keep doing this work, I feel is nothing but resilience. We have to have resilience. I know we have resilience because we're able to understand what our history is and how we can hope to move forward in what we do in our work. So it's not surprising
Mhm.
that people feel guilty because they're like, how do I engage in this thing right now when I need to be maybe out on the front lines, or I need to be donating, or I need to be,
Mhm.
but the truth of the matter is, if you do not fuel yourself, and sexual energy is one of is the most, in my opinion, most prominent energy that
Oh
we
yeah.
have, that is invasive in all of different aspects of our lives, that we need to have this energy to fuel us for, whatever fight happens next.
Mm-hmm. So agreed. So agreed. So agreed. Um, yeah, like we have to, like the sexual energy is the most powerful energy, in my opinion. And so we need to work on that. We need to meditate. We need to do yoga, whatever it is we need to do to stay balanced, to stay focused. And orgasms has been proven to help build your immune system. There are so
Mhm.
many benefits to orgasms. It gives you energy, it increases those endorphins, so you can feel better. And there's nothing wrong with feeling good. There's really nothing wrong with that. Because honestly, that's going to help you to be able to fight, to give you more of that gas to keep on going. So it's so
Mhm.
important right now. So important right now. So.
I know. I tease my wife whenever she's in pain. I always say, just go have an orgasm. And she's like, you think orgasms are the key to everything? You think orgasms are gonna make you, are best for you all the time? And I'm like, yes, actually they are. Just look up the benefits of orgasms, like, and
Yes.
you will see what the benefits are. So
Yes. So Tiffany has a question. So she says she's kind of late. So, and it's not a repeat. No one has asked this question yet. So, is there a spiritual, theological component to kink? The pain dominance part. Is it sacred? Is there a way to discuss it as such to church folks, particularly Black Christians? Great question.
oh, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I went first last time. And you explained so well, so I'm just gonna sit back and learn and listen.
So when thinking about kink, and particularly in the Bible, there's kink is used as punishment, right? So it's used, the flogging is punishment. All the things that we would probably consider modern day kink was used as punishment, discipline, to show our faith in God. So I think it's very interesting how kink is used to sort of uh, in a way to sublimate that faithful religious energy. And so is it sacred? Of course it's sacred. It can be, it can be anything you want it to be, honestly.
Mhm.
But I think there is a sacredness to it because of the energy of when you embody that kink, when you embody being dominant or submissive. It's very purposeful. The power exchange that you are giving to someone, or they give to you, is very sacred. You're in a, if you're I'm thinking, if you're only playing with one person, right, you're in this little bubble or in this scene, and that is just you and that other person. So I think it's it's is there a way to talk to Black Christians about kink? Yes. Will it be met with an open mind is the question. I think that is the question, because, you know, we often have stereotypes of what Black Christians might say or do or feel, when there are a lot of Black Christians that run the gamut, who are in kink, who are doing, you know, all the things. And so I think if they are open to knowing what sacred kink is, and knowing like why people engage in kink and the healing powers of kink, I think you definitely can convince some hardcore Black Christians who would never think kink is great. I think you could convince them to say, like, hey, these things are healing. But again, they have to have an open mind. You know,
Right.
we experience the world in all sorts of ways. So
Let me tell you, they're the freakiest ones. So, I have another lady who was on here who did a live with me, and she teaches lap dance courses. And she was saying a lot of those ladies who take her courses are church women. So, you know, so I think that's the thing.
yeah, I had a preacher hire me one time,
Mm-hmm.
because his couples ministry. He was
Right.
like, my couples are not having sex with each other and they're married and everything. Can you come and do a workshop and explain to them, you know, what it means to be intimate with each other? And can you give the context in the Bible? And I was like, I sure can.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think about religion a lot, I studied like almost all the religions. I
Mm-hmm.
read almost all the religious books. Like, for me, it's really important to understand the context and what people need to hear in order to absorb the information to make it viable for them to use in their future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think that sexuality is such an innate thing. And everyone, regardless of whether, you know, you're Christian or, you know, what religion you have, it's a natural part of us. And we all have natural instincts, you know, and we all have curiosity, you know. And so I think that, like, you know, like you said, I think it's there is definitely a way to approach, and but the person has to be open and willing to hear. And I think that, honestly, I think even if you're speaking to someone about it, a Black Christian, if they're around a bunch of other people, or, you know, because of shame, they might be like, oh, you know, no, 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 no. But in private, they're gonna go research it. I believe some of them will. Some of them will. Um, and again, a lot of them are out, you know, doing things. You know, you hear of the whole um, preacher's daughter. She's always supposedly one of the wilder ones. All of these different sayings, and they have these sayings, right? So,
Mhm.
so, and I think that, you know, the biggest thing is knowing that everything is sacred, everything can be sacred. And part of the sacred kink retreat, we talked a lot about this weekend about being conscious and aware of what you're doing and being present. And you know, we did different things, like I taught a lot of breathing techniques, eye gazing, that you can do with your partner before a scene, during a scene, or after the scene, to really make it more loving, more intimate. I already think just doing a lot of the kink work is very intimate, and I shared this in the retreat this weekend. My very first time going to a playhouse, I was in a DC area, and actually my co facilitator who did it, she invited me to the playhouse, and that must have been like 12, 15 years ago. And first time going, and I only went because it was her and I trusted her. She was also a psychotherapist like me. We worked together. So I was like, all right, I'll go. And in the playhouse, you know, they had the different playrooms, dungeon, and then they had a piercing room. And so I went to the piercing room, and that was my way of like making my way up to be okay to see other stuff. I was like, piercing I can handle. So I'm in a piercing room, and a lady was laying down, and she was getting her clit pierced. And during that, her partner was with her and was like lovingly stroking her and saying, I love you. And they were breathing together. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful scene. Look at the intimacy, look at the connection, look at the love. And how it's just like that really opened me up. I was like, I've had traditional relationships and I don't think I felt that much love in it at all. You know? And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, this is beautiful. And that really just opened me up to a whole nother world to see how something could be so sacred and so intimate and so beautiful, such as a piercing, getting a clit pierced. Like, oh my God, that was beautiful. So yes, anything could be sacred. Anything could just be
All
beautiful.
the energy you put in. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sunkooma says, ouch, and I don't have a clit. Well, I haven't gotten my clit pierced. I'm too afraid. I don't
Yeah,
like
me
pain.
neither.
So this, I got my nose pierced. That's about it. And
Mm-hmm. I got
that
3
was
of those. Yep. My mom was
fun.
like, no more.
So awesome, awesome, awesome. So um yeah, thank you guys for coming on. If you have any last questions, we'll take like one more question. We're gonna wrap up. This has been great. Like, do you have any other kind of closing comments on being able to honor all different types of relationships, all types of love? Because in my mind, love comes in so many different ways. So someone just said, I cheated, just got the hood pierced. LOL.
That's good
Yes.
though. The hood's good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You're close. Yeah, I don't even have the galls to do that. So how did that feel, Elle, getting the hood pierced? So I also heard that sometimes when you get the clip pierced, like if they hit a nerve wrong or something, then that will leave you where you can't feel any pleasure. So I was like, I was like, I don't think I'm going to try that.
Yeah, I think most people who have genital piercings generally are, if they have vulvas and clitorises, that it goes through it goes through the hood. So I know most piercers do that. Yeah, there's no nerves. Yeah, so but it's the actual piercing that does the rubbing that makes it feel good and nice. So I've had a couple of friends who really love their genital piercings, and they're just like, yeah, so yeah, that's what I
Okay.
know about genital piercings. I don't have one. I don't know. Like, I played
Right.
with them before, but I haven't actually. I don't know what it feels like.
Right. Yeah. I was at I went to hedonism once and
Yes.
loved it. And I saw a guy there who had his penis pierced. Like there was tons of piercings on it.
Yes,
And
he's there all the time. I go to hedonism like every other year, and he's there all the time. And it's just
yes,
hanging, and they're thick too, right? The thick old.
yes, they're thick. I
Mm-hmm.
swear it's like 70 of them. I don't know. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah. So you've seen the same guy.
Oh yeah, I've seen that guy.
So
He
it's
probably
funny
lives
because I'm like,
there.
maybe. He does. But I'm like, well, how do you have sex with that? Because like, um, I don't know. Like, does it rip the condom? Like, I guess it must feel good. I don't know. So
Very carefully, I imagine.
very carefully. So
No,
also,
yeah.
any closing things that you want to share about like, I don't know, loving all different types of love, different types of relationships, anything?
Yeah, I think it's, when we think about the work that we do in the sexuality industry, I just think it's really important to be inclusive in our love and be inclusive in the types of relationships that people have with one another, which means we might be able to use that through our language. And although a language doesn't, may not be expansive enough, I think there is language out there that we can use to say like, hey, this is my body, you have this body part and I have this body part, and we can use these body parts together like this.
Mm-hmm.
And or you have feminine energy, I have masculine energy, and I want to do some tantra play that involves our energy exchanging. So I think there's a way to be inclusive and and appeal to like folks in the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ plus, community, and alphabet community. That is, that we can include us. We often are excluded out of conversations because the majority is mostly straight folks who are doing things for other straight folks. So I
Right.
think it's just to I think us in the sexuality industry are leading the way to help
Mm-hmm.
people understand themselves better and to understand bigger communities and groups as well. So that means, changing our language, changing how we say things, changing the world view.
Mm-hmm.
So that then they can start to change their language, right? They'll be like,
Right.
oh, I never had a language for it, but I didn't know. But I recognized my energy was masculine. But
Mm-hmm.
and someone told me I wasn't feminine enough because Renee, I got that. You are too masculine, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, I love my masculinity. Don't shame me about my masculinity. And
Right.
so, um, you know, understanding energy, I think, is important, especially in sacred sexuality, in sacred kink, in anything that we believe that is, near and dear to our hearts. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
there's that. Yes. Okay, I'm going to step down from my soapbox, but um,
No, thank you. That's good to hear. It's
yeah.
funny because I used to I remember when I was like in high school and college, always wearing jeans, always wearing black, um, baseball cap. When I did have hair, I wasn't doing it. Like it was just one little braid, you know,
Ponytail.
that braid, ponytail, exactly. Put it through the cap. And that was me. Like in college, I was in t-shirts, sweats, or jeans, and baseball cap, ponytail. Like I wasn't doing all of that. And then I had a friend, this guy, who was like trying to get me. He was like, "No, you need to go get your nails done. You should be doing this and you should be doing that." And I'm like, "I'm okay." Now, by nature of being in Brazil, I kind of naturally started shifting, but it was one because it's really hot here, and I couldn't wear pants and jeans anymore. It's just way too hot. So I just naturally started wearing more skirts and dresses. But at first it was weird, but then I kind of got used to it. And then once I shaved my head,
Woo!
like yeah,
All
it
the
felt
hair.
so good.
I
But
need a
because of
haircut. I can't show my head right now.
but because of that, I started wearing more like bigger earrings because it started looking better. Like I felt like it just looked nicer than like the studs. I don't know. So then that kind of naturally happened. Then because I had dark circles in my eyes, I started wearing makeup. But it was like all by chance, nothing because I'm like, I need to try to look more feminine. It was like, okay, this is naturally starting to happen. So, the camera shows everything. So, but anyway, so share this has been great. Thank you so much. Frenchie Davis says, "Woohoo, Marlo Way." So yeah, Frenchie was on a live with us too. So she's done
Hey.
a live.
Yeah.
That was great. So yeah, so share your information. Do you have anything coming up? Any workshops? Share your Instagram,
Yeah,
Twitter,
of
Facebook, all your
course.
stuff.
So you can check
Don't
out my
forget about Velvet Lips.
yeah. So you can see my handle there at One Marla Stewart. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook or Twitter. And of course, I have my book, The Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay, that I co-wrote with Jess. And that you can find on my website. And we are actually having our virtual book launch next week.
Oh
So
wow!
that's really exciting.
Now,
And
will it be available on Amazon?
It is available on Amazon, yes. It is
On
available
Kindle
on
too?
Amazon, yes.
Kindle as well?
And on my website, yes. So you can get an
Okay.
autographed copy from me if you want.
Yeah, so I would definitely love that. I would definitely love that. Yeah. That I have nothing comes to me in Brazil, so I'd have to get two. I have to get one from. Look, but do you have it on Kindle?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to get it on
We
Kindle.
might have it actually. I think it might be on Kindle.
Okay, check. What is the name of your book again? I want to type it in here in the
The
comments.
Ultimate Guide to Seduction and Foreplay. Techniques and Strategies for Mind-Blowing Sex.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna look for that.
Cool. And then, of course, you can come. I have all sorts of workshops that are available on Eventbrite. So you can just go to velvetlips.eventbrite.com or velvetlipssexed.com to check out all of my coaching or my workshops. And I, have a lot of features, a lot going on next week. And then also Sex Down South is happening in September. So that's September 10th through the 12th. And you can go to sexdownsouth.com for all the details on that.
It's always my birthday weekend. My birthday's September 11th. I remember.
Yes. You got a good weekend.
Yes. So, so check out Sex Down South. Lots of workshops, right? Different types of workshops for everyone. Many different teachers, leaders, kind of leading different workshops. So awesome. I think I'm going to be stuck here.
Yeah.
I don't see myself being able to travel anytime soon. So
yeah, no worries. So we're still we're trying to have a virtual component. So just be on the lookout, sign up for the email list, and make sure you just stay informed.
Okay, that'll be awesome if you have that. That'll be really, really awesome. I would love that. So thank you for coming on again. This was great. Thank you guys for all coming on, watching, and sharing your questions. So connect with Marla Renee Stewart at One Marla Stewart. If you don't know, connect with me on Prondata Prim or Renee Adolphi. I'm one of those on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And go to my YouTube and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell so you can know when my lives are coming up. All right. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone have a good one. And thank you so much, Marla. This was amazing.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Yes, and Frenchie cosigns the Sex Down South conference. You don't want to miss it. I agree. You definitely don't want to miss it. Check out her book. Go to her website, Velvet Lips. Get the book. I'm ordering it on Amazon. Hopefully, it's on Kindle. If not, I'll go ahead and order it from your website so you can sign it, autograph it, and then just have it sent to a family member, and I get it whenever I go to the States. All right. So thank you, Elle. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Have a great one. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.